was in New York in 1988. If there was ever a golden era of hip-hop, I mean, New York 88 might have been it. KRS, Public Enemy, Def Jam, LL and all of them. And then Spike Lee did Do the Right Thing. You know, I felt like, well, you know, Spike is, you know, the Spike Lee of film. There's not a Spike Lee of magazines yet. So I got some guys together and we launched this magazine called Urban Profile. None of us had a journalism background. We jumped in the water into the deep end. I went to business school, and Len and I continued to publish the magazine. We had created a little bit of buzz. We had shown some journalistic prowess, and we also showed the ability to fight. A woman from Time Warner, a woman named Lynn McDaniel, black woman, called me one day. She said, I want to talk to you about this magazine called Vibe. You know, I felt at the time when she called me that, you know, Urban Profile, we had invented the whole category. I mean, I was kind of almost miffed. I said, we invented it. And here comes Quincy and his money and time saying they're going to, you know, launch this magazine. So I'm talking to the woman and she says, yeah, that's all well and good, but let me tell you what we're paying. So she tells me. And I said, well, how does Tuesday sound for an interview? Quincy has a way of making you feel like you're above him and you are, that he is, you know, with you. I had a single-minded drive to try to make Vibe a, you know, just a big magazine and be aggressive with what we were trying to do. And I think he respected that. Probably the best example that crystallizes the commerce versus art discussion is when we were covering the world-famous East Coast, West Coast hip-hop wars, you know. And there were times where we were so close to the story as journalists that we were part of the story, you know. As great as Vibe was and as solid as it is, one of my more disappointing nights was the night I got called when the Notorious Big got killed outside of, you know, 5 steps outside of one of our parties in Los Angeles. I mean, that, you know, and for the second time in a 6-month period, you know, I was putting together a death issue. You know, I had done one for Tupac a couple of months before. You know, those were dark times. You know, and then there were times there were big racial questions. There were times at Vibe where I knew I was right as a journalist, but wrong as a black man. I left Vibe in 1999. I saw all the money that was being raised in the marketplace. I started to think heavily about ownership. I've been exposed to a lot of different things at Vibe, so how can I cobble that into something, you know, that's solid? Well, Vanguard refers to the audience that we're trying to reach. The urban audience is the Vanguard audience. NBA basketball's made off of it, HBO has been made off of it, UPN was launched off of it, the Fox network was launched off of it, Sprite won the Cola Wars off of it, you know, I can go on and on. So we wanted to have a media company that had products that talked to that audience. In the short span of 8 months since we've left Vibe, you know, we have a company here of 110 employees, 5 magazines. And we have other magazines in mind. We have spin-offs in mind. We have television shows with BET in mind. I think that's hip-hop's greatest gift to young black people, a voice that we have not had since the days of the civil rights movement, you know, a voice of pride, a voice of energy, and quite frankly, a voice of economic, you know, force and that says, hey, we can move records, we can move soda, we can move people to the crowd, we can move things, you know, and if we don't like you, we can move you too.